Hey, quick heads up before we get into the details of the Lordstown bankruptcy. It's worth noting that there has been a history of companies that say they're filing for bankruptcy going kind of viral and trending in the stock market community and becoming basically meme stocks. So in the short term, sometimes there can actually be some good opportunities to swing trade these bankruptcy plays. Do keep in mind, you probably generally don't want to hold these for the long term, as they often end up burning shareholders. However, there is one example that people keep referring to as shareholders not getting burned, and that was the Hertz bankruptcy. But one of the things you have to remember that made Hertz so valuable during its bankruptcy during COVID was they had thousands of used cars on their balance sheet. And even though their business went to trash, what became more valuable during the pandemic? Used cars. Used car prices skyrocketed. This is why shareholders were rewarded in the Hertz bankruptcy, something that's actually extremely rare. However, that doesn't stop other people from saying, this is the next Hertz. No, Lordstown is not the next Hertz. And while I can't give you personal financial advice, I would suggest holding a company trending towards bankruptcy is a really bad idea. But let's analyze Lordstown and see what's going on, what they're blaming for their bankruptcy. Were they actually selling any cars? What's with this becoming a finalist out of Trucks in America? Let's talk about all of this now. Yes, and Friday, the coupon expires for the programs on Building Your Wealth. Lordstown Motors just filed bankruptcy. I am really excited to look at what their latest 10Q looks like, because I'll tell you, when you look at the investor relations of a lot of these companies, whether it's Lucid or even Neo, a lot of these companies are seeing margins that are so horrible and cash burn that is so terrible, you literally can't do anything other than probably file bankruptcy to get out of the disaster that a lot of these companies have gotten themselves into. And it's unfortunate because from a high level point of view, we should want every electric vehicle company to succeed so there's more competition. But that's not the way capitalism works. Capitalism doesn't say everyone succeeds. Capitalism suggests the best succeed. So, Lordstown Motors just announced bankruptcy. Let's go through the announcement. And after we go through the announcement, let's look at their latest 10Q to analyze if we could have seen those things coming. The answer's going to be yes, but it's going to be quite neat. Oh, and we just got Snowflake and NVIDIA announcing a partnership. That is very smart for Snowflake. Very smart. But anyway, and I think NVIDIA will pretty much partner with anyone. We'll make you as many chips as you want. But anyway, Lordstown Motors filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy early on Tuesday. The struggling electric car maker, Lordstown Motors, said it would put itself up for sale amid an ongoing dispute over investments that had been promised by Foxconn. That's the Taiwanese manufacturer that does a lot of iPhones and such. Shares were down 60% in the pre-market following the news. Simultaneously with the bankruptcy filing, Lordstown Motors filed a suit against Foxconn. The company accused Foxconn of fraud and failing to abide by an agreement that called for the Taiwan-based firm to invest up to $170 million in Lordstown. Well, yeah, there are probably, I bet there were conditions where Lordstown or Foxconn was able to say, we'll invest 170 mil up to, well, it literally says up to, so there had to have been conditions. And unless you guys suck, then we won't invest. And so Lordstown probably took that money to the bank, even though they hadn't earned it yet. And now they're like, crap, we didn't get the money. So Lordstown is, well, let's see here. Foxconn says in height of the litigation, it is characterizing the lawsuit by Lordstown as essentially trying to mislead the public. Foxconn paid the first $52.7 million due under the deal last year. The next payment of $43.7 million was due within 10 days of regulatory approval. That approval was secured in late April, but Foxconn never made the payment. Foxconn told Lordstown that the startup breached the deal by allowing its stock price to fall below $1. There it is. That was my expectation, that there would be some kind of out that they would have. It's just going to come down to a contract dispute there. But let's actually look at the latest 10Q and see how the finances for Lordstown Motors have actually looked. So if we go to, let's see, cash flow statement, we can see the cash flows. So the nature of a bankrupt company, the cash flow statement shows a net loss of 171 million, which is almost double the net loss you had at the end of March in 2022. Note that's 171 million dollars in 3 months. So consider that for a moment. 171.7 divided by 90. That's a loss of $1.9 million per day. Could you imagine burning $1.9 million a day? That's remarkable. That's Lordstown Motors for you. Anyway, they also, in this last quarter, took an impairment of their plant, property, and equipment of $114 million. So in other words, they are essentially admitting to losing an entire quarter, nearly entire quarter of net loss or of whatever they invested in. That's odd. Plant, property, and equipment purchases were only down to $8 million here. And last year, they were at $22 million in a quarter. So they've lowered their plant, property, and equipment investments. And they took an impairment on the investments they already made. It's not good. Ordinarily, for a growing company, you would see no impairment on plant, property, equipment, or nominal amount, certainly not that level. And you would see more investments into plant, property, and equipment, not less. Okay, so let's look at the income statement. As expected, the company is still a startup, so we don't really have sales. You have $189,000 of sales. You have costs of sales of $31 million, so you just really haven't sold anything. Here's that impairment charge of 114 on plant, property, and equipment. Research and selling, general and administrative, all about $14 million for the quarter. Minus the impairment, you still had a loss of somewhere around $60 million. And from a cash point of view, the company only had about $108 million of cash in terms of the last quarter. They did have inventory of about 70 mil, but that decline in inventory didn't help their cash position, at least compared to last quarter, or the quarter before that in December. That's probably because their current bills are somewhere around $58 million. Longer term liabilities, another about 59 mil. So they've got bills of about $59 million. They're going to be out of cash basically this quarter. They might have, well, they'll have enough for maybe one more quarter, but you need to file now that the quarter's over. You're running out of cash within the next 3 months. That's probably why they're filing for BK protection, to protect themselves against some of these payables, so they can continue to have cash for maybe a year during bankruptcy to pay salaries. But I'm not sure that anybody will actually come in and buy this company. I suppose it depends what the company would potentially want to sell and what IP the company has. They don't necessarily indicate intellectual property on their balance sheet. And while they've done some beautiful mock-ups of electric vehicles, I mean, look at this. This just shows you the clickbait of this kind of garbage. Look at this. Lordstown Motors, finalist, 2023 North American Truck of the Year. It happens when you hashtag work for it. What are you talking about? How can a car that's not in production and a company that's not actually selling the damn vehicle actually win North American Truck of the Year? How much did they pay to get that certification? Who made that certification? Let's find out. 2023 North American Truck of the Year, Lordstown. So I guess it depends which journal you're looking at. So it's probably one of the journals, because the F-150, maybe it was just a finalist. Yeah, it was named a finalist. And the F-150 actually won. Well, that makes sense, because you could actually buy the darn thing. But to be named a finalist, yeah, there it is, beating out the finalists. Lordstown Motors, EV, and the Chevy Silverado for the top prize. Wonder how much they paid just to be considered a finalist. That would be very interesting to find out. But anyway, it's obviously trash, given that, well, the company's going bankrupt. You can see that here in the restructuring process statement from Lordstown Motors. Again, it's unfortunate to see this. It's unfortunate to see that, they have this fight with Foxconn. They're blaming Foxconn. But even aside from the Foxconn nonsense, oh, I didn't share screen, my fault. That was right here. So here we go. There's the Business Journal. This is their front page right here, where you could see the finalist. Anyway, when you look at their statement, the lack of an ability to sell vehicles is without a doubt your reason for failure here. You need to be able to sell something to be able to sustain. Otherwise, you're just relying on the stock market to continue to fund your startup. And that's bad. You have to create cash flow. Every truck is a finalist, says someone. Anyway, so stock currently in pre-market down about 57% on this news. I wonder if other companies are following this down, like a Lucid. Let's see. No, Lucid in pre-market's up actually 4.5%. You look at Archimoto down 1.3%. So you're not really seeing much stretch anywhere. What about like a Workhorse? Nope. Most of the other EVs actually slightly positive on the day. It's just really isolated to Lordstown. But there you have it. Lordstown and the bankruptcy filing, and what's a pretty terribly looking statement set up here. I wonder if they mentioned a going concern in their last statement. They did not. No. Oh, yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. They did mention a going concern. So a going concern is usually mentioned when a company is brand new or they're trending towards bankruptcy. Like every brand new startup has a going concern. Yeah, look at this. As a result of these uncertainties, there is substantial doubt regarding our ability to continue as a going concern. I mean, the writing was on the wall here that they were going to file for bankruptcy. I mean, look at this. It literally says, if we're unable to resolve our dispute with Foxconn in a timely manner on the terms allowed.
Now, I want you to know this. When it comes to AI, time is what's going to make you money. And if you can prove that value to an employer, you'll always be able to be employed. So this is another way of making sure that you don't get replaced